Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm really excited to be here today. Very excited to talk to Sue Ellen Parkinson today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Shireen. I'm really delighted to be here. I think it's so amazing to be talking to somebody on the other side of the world. And it's one of the blessings of technology, I think, particularly for women
Yeah,
artists, giving them a voice and bringing them together. I've become friends with women all over the world because of this. So, yeah, it's a blessing to be here. Thank you.
yeah, I totally agree. And it's so beautiful. We were just talking about the connections and how, like, I found you on a different show with Joanna, who's also on the podcast. And then just how we link up. We're doing different types of work, but for the same cause, maybe we can say, to raise the awareness and consciousness and to lift up other women.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. It's a very powerful tool, and we're using it for the right reason. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so excited. So maybe because we're gonna take a look at your beautiful art today, and I think most of us have seen your art in some way because I did also recognize it when I saw it the first time, and it's so beautiful and very special. So maybe before we take a look at the art, maybe you want to introduce yourself and how you got in also into
Mm,
doing these beautiful paintings.
mhm. Well, I've been an artist my whole life. I mean, literally, when I was a little child, I was just drawing all the time. And I had a grandfather who pulled me up on his knee one night and showed me the concept of light and shadow. And I remember him doing this very primitive little drawing, but just, it was the light coming in the window and landing on a ball. And I got it. Something in my mind just got that, and I couldn't stop. I mean, it's been the thing that saved me my entire life. I had a pretty rough childhood. I lost my mother when I was very young, and it's just always been the thing that I've gone back to that's given me strength and healing and support. And I've found so many wonderful people along the path because of it. Those creative angels always pop up. This particular the feminine icons I started about 7 years ago, and at the time I had been painting retablos, which is a Mexican folk art tradition. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Are you? They're these little paintings that people will put on shrines and altars and in churches, and they're basically depicting a miracle that's transpired in your life. And it's the full gamut of human experience. That's what delighted me about it. But this idea of doing a painting as a form of giving thanks, creating art as a way of saying thank you to the holy, you know? And I was at the time outside the Christian tradition. I'd mostly studied Eastern religion and been a Buddhist, practicing Buddhist for about 20 years. But at the time, I thought, oh, this idea of studying Mary Magdalene just popped into my head. And I thought it was one of those coinkydinks, but actually, I feel at this point that I was really guided to her, maybe from some internal ancestral voice. I don't know. It seems, a little woo woo, but I have this sense that um, she's been a part of me for a long time. Because when I started painting her, I felt such a deep connection. And I started studying with a woman named Kayleen Asbo, who I really recommend you interview. And she's an amazing teacher. And once again, I thought, well, I'm going to study Magdalene. I had met Kayleen at a dinner party, and she told me that she taught about her. And I Googled her online, and lo and behold, she was doing a 3-day workshop, not a workshop, a retreat on Mary Magdalene. And the first night, she ended with all of us just sitting in a dark room looking at all these images that she'd collected of Mary Magdalene. Hundreds of images of Mary Magdalene over the ages. And I found myself sitting there in the dark, just crying. Something happened. My heart broke open. And it was partly that she had had so many things projected upon her. This one woman, this one ordinary, extraordinary woman. And so I went home and started painting her myself.
That is so beautiful, and what a great practice, and how exactly like you said, she's been portrayed in different ways, and also in wrong ways, but it's like breaking free from that now, and we can see that in your art. And yeah, it's really fascinating, the life of her and the lost gospel of her, and what she the it's such clear, to me it's so clear that she's representing the divine feminine goddess in her, everything that she is. So it's really beautiful that she somehow came, like with all of the creativity that you have, maybe she's been also like coming through you, and yeah, that you've channeled. But it's funny how it can take time to understand like what's been guiding us, and
Yeah.
what the force is behind everything. So it's really interesting that you found that. And yeah.
And I am not the only one. I hear these stories quite a bit. People who
Yeah.
have found her and then are just their whole lives are changed.
Yeah.
And there was this dual thing going on of well, I recognize the fact that she seemed to be the perfect iconic representation of all these women who have been written out of history and erased. And then because they're powerful, they get smeared in some way. Um, and so I felt so compelled to honor her as all women. Just take this one woman and have her represent all women, which now I think she does,
Mm.
represent all women. I always say I could use anybody as a model for Magdalene, and it would work for me, um, to enter it with that level of deep love and respect and wanting to heal that wound that women carry.
Mm.
And it's been a real healing for me just to do
Mm.
that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I really see that also, that her energy is so healing, and it's really connected to the lineage of women, and it's like symbolic but also very practical right now, because we can see it how like her stories are coming up more and more in all of these books. And I'm actually listening to just finishing a book called The Lost Gospels, and something decoding. So it's really fascinating to see like this story, like you said, it was so much written out, and then why did the male counterpart get so much focus, but she's like on the
Mhm.
side. But now, and the thing that they were trying to do also, this like, the yin and yang, the balance was not really created as probably it was meant to. And
I
then
I think of her, yeah, I think of her as the feminine face of Christ.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's really interesting because they're in this book, they're really uh, seeing their path in the Joseph and Asenath story that is really, really old, and decoding that story. And then how she's also connected to Artemis and the bee, and it's so much like it's really a decoding this whole book. And I really love it because it starts opening like all possibilities, like everything that we haven't learned, and been things that haven't been disclosed to us now is like coming. And she's working through all of us, I feel like, and in different ways, because in one way as I started also on my path and working with the goddess and working with the divine feminine and my own healing, she came also so strongly in it because I had never grown up with Christianity or anything like that, but it became so natural with her there, especially in healing work and in work with women and the feminine wound, like you said. So it's really a great time now. And I feel like art is like an opening to something. It's you can meditate with art and to like it unlocks something within us and an opening of consciousness. It's like you've taken a different dimension and put it into something physical. And that's why it's so beautiful to see it as a sign of devotion as well.
It's a bridge. Actually, one of my favorite quotes by Angeles Arrien is that art is a bridge between the seen and the unseen worlds. And I have had that experience in that sense. And you know, the Benedictines use this practice called Visio Divina, where you'll meditate upon these sacred images and then let it speak to you through your heart. And I think it really works.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm very interested. You mentioned Artemis, her connection with Artemis and the bee, and a bee is an image that comes to me a lot when I'm painting her.
Oh,
So
wow.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, in this book, they really like that's how it's so connected with the with because these two researchers they it started with this beautiful sculpture of Artemis, and they were doing a documentary about a different Christian. I don't know if it was one of the disciples, but then they saw Artemis and her like headpiece and all of the symbolism of Mary Magdalene, and then the Joseph and Asenath story, which is so when they explain it's so clear that it is that when the union occurs between Jesus and Mary Magdalene and how it's so connected to goddess Artemis, but then also that's connected even further back, right, in the lineage of the goddesses. So the bees were really important, and that symbol, and that's what she is depicted with. So maybe that's why you're getting it like on
Wow,
a
that's,
higher
you know,
level.
stuff like that is wild to me, and it happens all the time. I mean, I'm not a religious scholar at all, but I'm always having religious scholars come to me and say and point out all these things that
Yeah.
I've been doing. It's just coming through. You know,
Yeah.
I did know that her cave in La Baume, France, at the
Mm.
base of that is the Forest of Artemis, which is
Oh,
interesting.
oh,
Yeah.
is it? I have been there, but
Yeah,
I
you
didn't know.
pass
But it's
through the Forest of Artemis. Yeah.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
on our way back from there or somewhere around that forest, actually there was a temple of Diana, which is Artemis. So it's just different names. So
Wow.
it's yeah, there was a clear uh, like goddess worship there. So it's really beautiful, the connection. Definitely. And I'm really
Yeah.
excited to share. If you want, I can start sharing
Yes.
the slideshow you prepared for us. So for everyone who's listening only to the audio right now on YouTube, we will have the slideshow as well, this whole episode in so I hope that you can see it now. Think you can see it now, the first slide, right, Sue Ellen? Let's see. Can you hear me?
Hmm. Shireen, do I have you? Hi,
Oh
I
no.
lost you for a minute.
Yeah, I
That's
wonder if it
this.
was my, yeah.
That was a good point. Whoops, are you still there?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay.
Yeah. So did you see when I shared the slideshow or not? Did it break?
No, no, it just ended when you did that.
Oh, okay. But maybe if we continue now, I actually changed my network. It might be my network that was
Oh,
low. Yeah.
okay.
But it's okay. I'll cut there. And
Okay. Should we
I'll try.
try
Yeah,
try
let's
again?
try again.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're gonna look at your beautiful slideshow for everyone who's connecting from uh, any podcast app. So, you know, this is also recorded as a video on YouTube. So, let's see if, okay. So, let's see if we can share the slideshow now. And Sue Ellen, you can let me know if you can see it now.
Yes. So I think that maybe just it looks like you've got a spreads, like you have two images up.
Okay, so let me see if I do it like this instead. Can you still see the slideshow? No,
No.
I will stop share and then I think it's because I changed. Let's see if I can do it. Share and
You can do it, Shireen.
yeah, let me
There we
see.
go.
So can you see the one page
Um,
now?
I
Or is it
see
two?
both. I wonder what other people will be seeing. Will they be
Okay,
seeing exactly what we're looking at?
I don't, I think they might. So if I do it like this, now I removed one of the screens because I had two screens. So if I try again, share screen, I think now it should be only one. So if we
Okay,
look now,
that's good. Yeah, I always put these in before I start
yeah.
talking about my work because, I mean, when I first started learning about this, I thought, why are people hammering on about these identifiers, these symbols? And the reason why is that so often Magdalene isn't identified. She won't be in the title of a painting. She won't be in the caption of a painting. They won't write about her. You'll see these huge biblical scenes, and all the male apostles will be mentioned, and she is not mentioned. So if
Mhm.
you come to realize what these come to know these identifiers, these symbols that are associated with her, you can identify them as you go through a museum or wherever you are. Actually, I just recently had somebody send me something they'd picked up at a garage sale, and they said, "Is this Magdalene?" And I said, "Yes." She was wearing red. She had a skull. She had an anointing jar. Anyway, so these are her identifiers. She wears red, not because she's a prostitute, because she wasn't, but because it's the color that indicates spiritual authority. So she's wearing red. She's usually carrying an anointing jar. It's often alabaster, but
Mm.
I've seen her with all sorts of anointing jars because she was a myrrh bearer. She was a healer. She was probably a priestess.
Mm.
She's often holding either a red or white egg, and I'll go into that story later when we look at the paintings that I've done with those. She has long flowing hair. She's often seen with a skull because she can hold, the reality of both worlds. We live and we die. Um, she's often seen with a book.
Mm.
Um, they believe she was a teacher. There's often paintings of her with a mirror because she's reflects, and
Mm.
she has tears. She's an emotional being. And then also the six petaled flower of life is very strongly associated with her. And if you go through that region of France where she's said to have lived and taught over the last 30 years of her life, there are these six petal flowers of life, call it, carved into the architecture all over the place there. So
Mm.
something to
Mm.
watch out for.
Yeah.
So this was my very first painting of Mary Magdalene.
Mm. Beautiful.
And as I painted it, I wanted to know who she was. As I said, I'd had that experience of feeling like there were so many things that were projected onto her, and who was she really? And so I found myself asking, "Who are you?" And you want to shoot to the next slide there, and I think you'll get a close up of her face.
Yeah.
Yeah, there. Yeah. So I just got this feeling of such a gentle and kind and loving and affirming being. I literally felt, lifted and held. I just felt this incredible loving, healing kindness come to me. And the red egg, now what that is about is there's a story, and there are different variations of the story, but the one that I originally heard that I really like is that she was summoned to the table of the Emperor Tiberius,
Mm.
and he wanted her to tell him about the resurrection. And after she did, he said, "I would no more believe that than believe that the egg in your hand would turn red." And according to legend, the egg turned red. So this is one of her symbols. So you'll often see her, like I said, you'll see these very complex paintings, and then you'll see a woman in red holding a red egg or
Mm.
a white egg. Sometimes it's still depicted as being white, and that is Magdalene.
Mm. Yeah. That's beautiful. I love the symbol of the egg as well. And the
Yes,
red.
yeah,
Yeah.
fertility. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And this is
So I painted her again, and this one's the mystic Mary Magdalene, patron saint of contemplatives.
mm.
And you'll notice in the background there's the day and the night, and it's a part. I don't really go into these, but I'll sort of have a flash of an image of her, but I won't really know exactly what the background is going to be. Um, And this comes to me over and over again. And I think it's about the union of opposites and how this is one of her teachings that comes in over and over.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It feels like it's reminding us of that inner union, as well as their union reminds us also of that, and how to merge, and how important it is with both sides, the day and night, and light and darkness. And I love the
Yeah,
dove as well.
yes, the
Mm.
balance that's
Mm.
created. Yeah, yeah,
And then also, I feel like the balance is between those living flowers and the skull as well.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
two
yeah,
different
yeah.
energies in there. Yeah.
So Magdalene was, she's the patron saint of contemplatives.
Mm.
And the more saints I read about, the more mystics. They all loved Mary Magdalene. Saint Francis loved her. Saint Clare loved her. Teresa of Avila, Julian of Norwich. It goes on and on. They were very drawn to Magdalene and the energy that she carried.
Mm. Mm. When
So
you
this
align,
was
yeah.
my first Visio Divina messages from her was, when you align your actions with your heart, you're in alignment with me. Because
Mm.
I kept saying, how can I connect with you deeper? And that was it. And it just, it's so different from this sort of patriarchal uh,
Mm.
religion, isn't it? Where, it's like it's very controlling and you must obey these laws and these rules. No shaming, no control with Magdalene.
Mm.
She's all about honoring that love within yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, it's beautiful. And I love this one, the crone energy as well. And there we have the honey shapes as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. Over
Mm.
and over again. And I've heard that she was called the Queen of the Honeybees in France because her words were so sweet.
Yeah. Wow.
So this one, I just wanted to bring that um, energy of death a little bit closer. It's like one of her symbols that I've incorporated, but I've never brought it front and center before. So I put these butterflies of transformation and the honeycomb in the background.
Yeah. And she's
And I
very,
feel, go
sorry,
ahead.
she's so connected to the resurrection, like the death and rebirth cycle, I feel
Yeah,
like. So it's so
yeah.
like she's holding that and facilitating that
Hmm.
transition as well.
Yeah. And I'm very committed to having her, span the full age of her
Mhm.
life, just always depicting her as a young woman.
Yeah,
So this
exactly.
was another message I got from her: rest in knowing that you are always held in love. It's just, when the fear sets in, it's so good just to remember that. Yeah.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, beautiful, amazing. Wow, this is incredible.
So this is depicting that legend of Mary Magdalene, and there are also many variations of this, but the basic nut of the story that seems to stay the same is that Magdalene is sent off in a rudderless boat, presumably to her death.
Mm.
Uh, she ends up landing in the south of France, which, if you've been there, is pretty good karma.
Mhm. Yeah.
So beautiful. But I painted this right when I had come back from visiting her sacred sites in France, and I was just kind of vibrating, and the world was very chaotic and strange when I came back, as I realized her world was, and yet I had this vision of her as just being so strong and centered in the peace of her own heart.
Mm.
Um, my feeling is we're all in a rudderless boat right now. So there's some real lessons to be learned from Magdalene.
Definitely.
She said, "Your heart is your only anchor." I think that's what she said. Your heart is your
Mm.
only anchor. Yeah.
Mm. Your heart is your only anchor.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I actually had that experience just a few weeks ago that I woke up and I heard, sometimes when you have these messages come to you, it's in the either going to sleep state or just waking up state. And I heard the woman with the alabaster jar. I've heard it before, but I
Mhm.
couldn't really understand why I heard it then very clearly. And I really love that she's holding something in her hands and that it's so, because it feels like she's the initiator and gives blessings. And I also connect her a lot with the water and how water can be used
Mm.
in ritual as well.
Yes, I do too. And I have a dear friend who I think of as a priestess who really believes that very strongly.
Yeah, I've seen it for myself when I've seen her in my visions. So it definitely comes together. We are all connecting to that same source and her
Mhm.
energy. And this is interesting because I think one of the first times I saw her and with the water ritual, that it was actually, I envisioned it on a beach, and that she walked towards me with something. So it's really beautiful. But it was also like a merging of Jesus, Mother Mary, and then her as some form
Mhm.
of Trinity. And then, so this is so beautiful to see, and the symbols here. Wow.
Yeah, well, once again, I've got those honeycombs in
Yeah.
her nimbus, and the six
Mm,
petaled star, six petaled flower of life.
mm.
And I was just imagining her arriving on the shore and writing peace in the sand with her fingers, um, and giving a blessing. But
Oh, amazing.
she also seems, like she's been through some suffering herself.
Mm, mm,
When I I was thinking that I was painting this image for the outer world. It's titled Choose Peace, but I really had sort of a emotional breakthrough, um, when I'd finished it and I put it up and I was just meditating on it. And I realized it was a message to me from her
mm.
a
Yeah.
lot. I was going through some physical challenges that she really helped with. We can go to
Mm.
the next one. You can see her a
Yeah.
little better, I think. I like
Yeah.
to show their expressions more. So she
Mm,
has the alabaster jar um, beside her there too.
mm. And I love the petals of flowers because this year on her feast day, I also actually went to the ocean and like gave back some flowers in ritual and ceremony for her
Yeah,
to
yes.
give that something back. And it's beautiful how, and this the is that letters on the sand.
Yes, they're letters. It's peace in Hebrew.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love that. And here is a really, this one is the colors. When I see it, it makes me happy.
Yeah, every once in a
Actually,
while, I have color madness. I just every once in a while it really comes out, and it did in this one. But I like it. It worked.
ah,
This one is another version of that story. Is that there was a clairvoyant Black woman who was a gypsy woman, a Roma woman, and she felt that a great presence was coming. So she was waiting on the shore for Magdalene with provisions. So that is Saint Sarah at Santa Maria de la Mer. I might be saying that wrong. Did I say it right? Are you familiar with the place?
yeah, I've been there actually. I'm not really good at French, but Sainte Marie de la Mer,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yes, that's it.
Well, Saint
So
Mary of
they,
the ocean, isn't it? The
yeah,
water.
so
Yeah.
I feel like for some reason I got very, when I hear these stories as an artist, it just like sends me off in my own imagination and exploration, and do all this processing and interpretation through my art. That's how I sort of synthesize the world. And so once again, the union of opposites came up. At this point, I didn't know that this was going to be a common theme that comes again and again, but it does. And I like the idea of these two women working together as cohorts,
Mm,
creating a nest for peace. And at they still the Roma people meet every single year at this
mm,
little village, and they take a statue of Saint Sarah down to the ocean and wash her in wine and honey, and all the people are playing music, and there's dancing, and it's just I'm just so longing to go there. It's on my list of places to go. COVID slowed us all down, but I will get there someday.
Yeah,
Anyway, Saint Sarah and Magdalene, yes.
amazing. I really love that. Oh, wow. I haven't seen this one. So beautiful. And with the
And this,
chalice. Yeah.
yeah, I was using the same icons, Magdalene and Sarah. And I painted this at a time when we were trying to make our little city a sanctuary city for immigrants. A lot of
Mhm.
people in the United States were doing that because people were getting deported and they were really terrified. So I was calling in the energy of Sarah and Magdalene to help create that. And right after we became a sanctuary city, the whole state of California became a sanctuary state, which was great. And so I
Mm.
put a little California sister butterfly up at the top there.
Wow. And it's interesting because in this book that I mentioned, she's called like the sanctuary of something because in
Oh,
this story that they're connected to the stories of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, it is you will be the some sanctuary for something. It really comes in just because you're also like channeling something from her
yeah.
energy. Yeah, so beautiful.
Hmm. Yeah, I was thinking at the cup of mercy. That's their little chalice they're holding there.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
with the spiral, it's really beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
I really love this. I think this one I um, posted for the feast day actually, and mentioned you as the artist, of course, because I felt like this one was just everything was speaking to me in this image. It's so beautiful.
I feel like, we don't know what color Magdalene was. And there are some scholars who believe that she was Black. In the same region where she lived in the south of France, they've found over 200 statues of Black Madonnas. So
Mm.
is there a link? Who knows? But there's often an association with oak trees. Like one of them was found within the hollow of an oak, and they're found at the roots of oak trees. And I think one of them has acorns carved all underneath her petticoats. So
Mm.
this one, Mother of Mysteries, do you want to show the larger image?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the acorns and oak leaves around her halo there.
Yeah, and I love that, the halos, because it also and also as in the book and different books that I've looked into, it's so connected with yeah, that connection, not just being something that we see maybe as a um, human, or like it's more like merging the human with the divine, and having this, usually this sun energy behind you is like you have
Hmm.
that divine energy. So I love how you interpreted this with the acorns and the leaves, and so amazing. This one is so beautiful, like all of them, and they have different energies, so maybe we also connect to like you said, we're all going through different cycles in life and in different phases, and this one is so beautiful also, the blessing circle.
This was a vision that I had really strong, that I wanted to do a painting of Magdalene being loved and honored and healed in the way that I feel like she deserved. It was almost like, give humanity a second chance, let us do
Mhm.
this. And this model in the center there, she's the model that I had been using almost exclusively as Mary Magdalene. So I thought of having her in that central seat there, and her mother is the older woman
Mm.
down at her knees. But then I right at the end of this session, I said, let's switch this out. Let's have your mom in the Magdalene seat. So if you go to the next one, you'll see what happened.
Oh,
It it
wow.
really, to me, this I mean, the other painting is I like it, but this one is the
Mm.
one with the power, really.
Yeah, this one is, I mean, you can see the Divine Mother here and this unconditional holding and like
Yeah,
in the previous, yeah, that's this one is so
and
amazing.
the healing, you know, and this ancient practice of washing the feet is
Mhm.
really wonderful.
Yeah, there's so many symbols here, and also the pomegranate, which is
Hmm.
so like connected to the womb and the goddess, women,
The
the light.
feminine, yes, it's
Yeah,
all about the feminine, I think.
yeah, wow, it's really beautiful.
This is my favorite.
Mm,
I and also just a little backstory on this is that that's a very dear friend of mine who
mm,
had cancer actually when we took this picture, and all these young women knew that was going on,
mm,
the models in this painting, and it could feel the tenderness there.
mm. Yeah,
I
this
was
one.
doing this at the exact same time that the Me Too movement was starting up,
Mm,
and there was a women's rally going on against Trump, and oh, there's so many things. Oprah Winfrey made this amazing speech at the Golden Globes that year. Was painted in 2018. And I just felt like I was part of this incredible wave that was going on with women being healed.
yeah. It's this painting makes me very emotional because there's so much that comes out from this, like because the woman on the left is somehow looks like she's grieving, and then you know
Mhm.
this the feminine wound and the like just it could be so beautiful if this could come out and be spread out, this type of community and holding and love. So it's really an emotional picture, and then also our connection to the mother. We all have the connection to is
Mhm.
a mother, a physical, a spiritual, like the source of everything.
And I think too that we need to honor our grief that we carry as women
Mm.
before we can go on to the next thing and be really clear. We need to be able to integrate that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a very powerful painting. And oh, and my friend Kaylee, now she's become my friend, my teacher, my friend Kaylee
Mm.
Nasbo, actually bought this, and it's at St. John's Episcopal Church in
Mm.
Petaluma now. Yeah, I'm
Wow.
glad it's in a public space.
Yeah, this is should be shared with many because it's so,
Mhm.
and this one too, blessing womankind.
Yeah, so this was the one that I did after that other one, and it's the same models again.
Mm.
Um, so it's Magdalene sitting at the tree of life, and all those blessings are there. I did all the traditional blessings, but at the very end, I changed light to creativity because I just had to put creativity in there. I'd run out of space, but creativity and light feels very much like the same thing to me.
Mm. Yeah, wow. And the
And I
moon.
love,
Yes.
I love
Yeah.
the way the younger woman is receiving that blessing. I Because they don't always stop and receive the blessing they're getting from their
Mm,
elders, but I like this idea. It's almost like she's blessing the future of womankind.
yeah. So beautiful. Oh, and now it's a completely different energy with this, with the divine
Uh,
feminine and masculine merging together. Wow.
yeah, I was kind of blocked around painting Jesus, and I didn't know. I thought, is it, am I angry? What's the deal with that? That he just I never had any images come to me of Jesus. And then I did a meditation, just asking for the truth around that. And after about 15 minutes, I saw an image of Jesus, and he looked totally grief stricken. And the words came to me, just sort of plopped into my mind, raise her up. And I
Mm.
knew that he wanted her, Magdalene, and all women to be raised up. And so I thought, well, I'm on track. So I was able to go forward, but I did do this I've done a couple paintings. And
Oh,
once again, this is here she is as a blonde. And as I say, I think I could use any woman as a model for her.
yeah. I really love that. Um, the message you got, and if if s- if it's is how the stories are told and how we can interpret them as being the most beloved, if she was his highest beloved, of course he wants to
Mhm.
raise her up and for her to
Mhm.
have that, to be honored, because
Right.
if you love someone you want everything for that person. So
Mhm.
who are we to like um, diminish her? Um,
Mhm.
yeah, that's so beautiful. Oh wow, seed song. That's
So this one is a more recent one that I painted, and so I've got her, identifiers down there, the skull and the alabaster jar. But the
mm,
thought, and this, you'll like this because you do the podcast on positivism. I was
yeah.
thinking we really have to get into a state of radical hope here. And I
Mm,
like the idea of seeds and their ability to proliferate, that, one seed can become a tree, can have all this fruit, can create all these seeds, can go on and on. And even the baby was like a little seed of hope.
mm,
And that we consider these new little babies when we're making our decisions throughout the day.
mm. And the little halo around the baby as
Yeah,
well. So
yeah,
sweet.
the baby gets a halo too.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful to see. I think there's a heart opening when we see a child or a baby, because it's so connected
Hmm.
to everything. It's so pure, and that it's incredible how
Hmm.
that can open up. And as you said, like a seed that's within us.
Hmm.
Oh, oh.
Hmm.
Mm,
So this one, I I had this epiphany when I was in France about Jesus and Magdalene and this story of the seven demons.
mm,
Um, because my sense of her was that she was not somebody who was riddled with demons, but she
mm,
was somebody who lived in a culture that viewed women as little more than chattel. So um, the idea I had was that what Jesus did was the seven demons were the lies that the culture projects onto women, and that he had been healed her with the truth. that he recognized her for who she was. So I wanted to paint this painting, but I was just felt so like, I don't know, almost vibrating, like I couldn't get it out. I couldn't conceive of how to do it. And I had to paint this painting first, like this image of her just resting. And I realized I needed just to rest. And so I did
Mm.
this.
Oh,
And this
and-
one's called Seven Waterfalls. Yeah.
yeah. And it can also be like seven initiations or seven, because in the book they also speak about that, or seven inner powers. It can be seven consciousness openings.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. The
I would
chakras, the
definitely
seven
put
chakras. Yeah.
exactly. I would put the book in the show notes so people who are interested to, because I see so many connections between your art
Uh,
and the book because yeah, it's coming through like that ancient history, and this is so beautiful as well.
so this was the painting that I finally did, and I
Mm.
it took me about a year to to it went through so many changes. But these are the truths that I have. The first one was, you have been unjustly oppressed. And I really think we do have to start there. Women have been unjustly oppressed. Second truth, your body is holy and yours alone to define or give to another. Third truth, you use your power to uplift, heal, and restore balance. Fourth truth, your loving heart is your perfect guide. Fifth truth, your speech furthers understanding and dispels illusion. Sixth truth, you have the wisdom of creative intelligence. Seventh truth, the holy abides within you and all life. And when I posted this on Facebook, it went viral. I had people writing me, women writing me from India, from Australia, from Germany, from Italy. I mean, women so somehow needed to hear those words.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
so beautiful, beautiful. And I love the owl of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And we see the water in the background as well. Again, it's her
Mm-hmm.
element. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one. Wow.
So then, after I had that vision of him very sad and just telling me to lift her up, I started getting happier visions. I
Mm.
mean, one of them was this picture of them by the river. You know, I don't know if they were lovers or married. I don't know. None of us know, you know. But I feel like they had this profound, loving relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Oh, and there we have the bee again.
And this
Mm.
one I did during COVID, so I didn't really have a model, but I'd painted this woman so many times I had a strong sense of her, and just that vision of the honeycomb came up there.
Mm.
So I'm really interested to read more about that. And
Yeah.
um, and also she's doing this symbol, which we've come to know as peace or victory, but actually that's an ancient symbol that indicates you're a teacher.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
The colors and yeah, the bee symbol is
Mm-hmm.
very important too. It
Mm-hmm.
is,
Mm-hmm.
especially in this Joseph and Asenath story with the honey and the cross that is painted on that honeycomb, I think it's called. It's really yeah,
Oh,
it's interesting for you to see that in writing as
yeah.
what you have already painted.
I'm gonna have to read. You're gonna have to give me the name. But
Yeah.
so this
Yeah.
is another one of her holding an infant. You know, this image was really strong in my mind, and somebody wrote me a little comment saying, I wish everybody in Congress could have this painting. This painting could be up in Congress, and every time they made a decision, they'd make pass legislation around the thinking about these new babies that are coming up. And that was very much the feeling that I had. Please,
Mm,
please, please think about these
thank-
new little sprouts that are coming up.
yeah, and it was a powerful message I also got when I visited a Black Madonna in Sicily, in Tindari, and that from woman comes man. That's the that's the words I heard. From woman
Oh,
comes man.
oh,
So it's,
well,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like, and then holding, because sometimes she's holding the skull and now she's holding the birth and the life. So it's, this is
Yes,
a strong message as well.
yes. So I think this is the last one of my Magdalenes, and
Mm,
it was just sort of a redo of that very first one that
yeah.
I'd done. And this one I gave her the white egg,
Mm,
but she has hummingbirds around her nimbus. I don't know if I included the whole painting, but anyway, you get the picture. She's wearing red. Yeah.
yeah, it's beautiful. Mm. That is the Black Madonna.
So yeah, I did a series of Black Madonnas because of this fascination with the idea of her having a link with,
Mm.
also there's a different energy. You know, it's interesting painting all these feminine icons. They all have a certain energy to them that's different, and you know, real or imagined. That's the way I perceive it. But this is once again Black Madonna with Dove of Peace. I painted it right after President Trump was elected, and I was so frightened. I just thought, just cling to peace, just cling to this idea of peace.
Mm.
I did this one.
Yeah, yeah, she's feels like a peaceful
Hmm.
image, but also, yeah, I love her facial expression. Really
Hmm.
amazing. Mm.
And another one, Black
Oh yeah.
Madonna with Babe, and
Yeah. Now it came actually when I see the refuge. It's actually Mary Magdalene, the city of refuge. That's what
ah,
they say. Yeah. But it's kind of a sanctuary. Maybe in English it's kind of the same thing, but this is so beautiful.
yeah, I was listening to music by King Alfonso. Do you know about King Alfonso?
Mhm. Yeah.
He he was a Spanish king. They called him El Sabio, the wise,
Mm,
and
yeah.
he loved the Black Madonna. So he sent all his musicians off to follow this pilgrim path and gather stories about Black Madonna and bring them back and create this music. So he wrote all these I think
Mhm.
cantigas. So I was listening to that music while I did this painting, and whenever I look at it, I think of that music. You can get it
Mm.
online. It's very beautiful and joyful.
Wow. Yeah, that's so beautiful. So beautiful. Oh, and Lilith.
Yeah, so I had not heard about Lilith probably until I was 63 or something, and some woman walked in the gallery and said, you must paint Lilith. And I said, tell me about her. So, I heard for the first time about Adam's first wife who refused to lay beneath him. So she flies off, and she's been so demonized. And
Mm.
so of her here in a paradise of her own making. Uh, and I really love this painting.
Yeah, and her story is so it dates back to Sumeria. So the Genesis story is really from the Sumerian mythology. I mean, she is spoken about with goddess Ishtar or Inanna as well. So it's really a beautiful
Oh,
symbol of the divine feminine and the goddess.
uh-huh.
Oh, oh, and Eve. And I love actually the serpent on the previous one and here as well.
Yeah, the serpent is our friend,
Mm,
it turns out.
yeah.
But yeah, I put this one almost like a spirit guide up there. But I just wanted to do, after all the terrible stories about Eve, I wanted to paint her as a happy grandmother, very satisfied with her apple and
Mm,
at peace in her world. So,
yeah. That's that's how it was in the original story. So
mm,
it's been
I
redone. It was
I think,
Ishtar. She was so happy about her feminine side and her vulva and everything in her tree. So you are
uh,
definitely on point.
oh, good.
Mm,
Well, I love this. I love this painting. It makes me happy.
amazing. Wow. Mm.
And this is after I had done that one, I got a bunch of requests from women of color saying, please paint Eve as a Black woman. So I did this one, which I'm happy to do. I mean, she probably was Black.
Mm.
Um, and in this one, it's more just like she's waking up to the reality of everything that's been projected upon her and all the negativity she's had to hold, and that she's not going to hold it anymore.
Mm. Mm. And the seeds,
The
and the
seeds of
bird.
hope. So the seeds are dropping down and creating all these little trees of hope.
Mm. Mm.
And this was the beginning of my exploration of Saint Hildegard, who's been such an inspiration to me. I mean, I'm in my 70s. I heard in her 70s she went off on a horse to speak truth to power, and I think, wow, what a woman.
Yeah. Wow.
Very inspiring. But I'm
Oh.
sure you know the story of Hildegard, that she was literally bricked into this little cell as an anchorite with her cousin when she
Oh,
was 8 years old. And I think
okay.
she was in there for 30 years or something. Yeah, it was. I mean, I just think about all the trauma that she endured, and yet she composed music, she studied botany, she really was a genius. She did these incredible illuminations, she had visions, she was just
Wow.
awesome. And then when after she got out of that cell, because this woman that her cousin passed away, she became an abbess and started two convents on the Rhine River for women.
Oh,
Really
wow.
accomplished She accomplished a lot in her lifetime.
That's amazing. So beautiful. Oh, and
So
there's, yeah.
this is her in her cell, and I had been taking pictures of I took a bunch of pictures of this model, and we had her in all different poses, and this one, she was just relaxing in between shots. And when I saw that foot, just that little foot, I thought, oh, this is the painting I want to do.
Wow. Yeah, like natural and
Yeah.
relaxed.
So
Oh.
this is her interior life. Another
Mm,
one heard.
amazing.
And a Saint Bridget, patron saint of poets. I'm
Mm.
mostly Irish, and so I've done a couple paintings of Bridget. I just love that the Irish people love and honor this woman. I mean, she's right up there with Saint Patrick, I think. In fact, I think starting next year, she's going to have her own national holiday. St. Bridget will have one, right? St. Patrick. So,
Wow. Yeah, we see the green colors and the
mm.
symbols. Hmm.
And this was another one of St. Sarah. It's Our Lady of the Oceans.
Mm. Beautiful.
I see we're getting close to running out of time, but we can go through if you want.
Yeah, we can go through them, the rest of them if you want. I can. So this is Virgin of Guadeloupe.
Yeah.
Amazing. Mm.
And St. Anne, I wanted to
Yeah.
do Mary's mother because I feel like she's not honored appropriately. She's not even mentioned in the Bible, I don't think. So, you know that the grandmother played a major role in that baby's life.
Yeah, definitely. And her conception story is interesting as well. So,
Yeah.
definitely an important female
Uh-huh.
matriarch. Yeah, wow. And Saint Clare of Assisi.
Yeah, St. Clare was really, she's very connected with St. Francis of Assisi. And she was actually had a devout practice. She was very devout as a young woman. And it was Francis who came to her when he wanted to change his life from being a playboy and after he'd glamorized war and I think he'd been imprisoned and came back home. He came to Claire, and she ran away and joined him and his little brothers. She wanted to. I don't think she wanted a cloistered life. I think she wanted to be traveling around with him, and she was very committed to the poor. But she ended up being cloistered because she was a woman. But this shows her right after he had cut off her hair, which was
Mm.
a method they used to devalue women so that her family wouldn't have the opportunity to marry her off.
Ah, wow. Kuan
And
Yin.
Kuan Yin, yes, goddess of compassion.
Yeah, this
This
is.
was a recent Kuan Yin. I sort of combined, I used one of Magdalene's symbols, the egg, because I'm going to be going to a retreat where they're going to be talking about Magdalene and Kuan Yin. I'm really interested in seeing what evolves out of that. But so I gave her the roses, which is also associated with Magdalene. But it was interesting when I gave Kuan Yin the egg, it sort of became the cosmic egg to me, you
Mm,
know. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, and that was it, I think, with the
I think
slideshow.
so too. Yes, thank you.
Wow. I'm so happy we got the opportunity. First of all, thank you for sharing these. I feel like I've been in a meditation for the last
me
hour
me
because
too. Yeah.
wow, just everything. I think I will have a lot of dreams now because of all the symbols, all the colors, all of the faces of the divine feminine. So thank you so much for sharing that. And amazing that you've created so much, all of these.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time and energy, but they're so
Mm-hmm.
important for us. And how can people find your art, and if they want to connect with you and your work, how can they find you?
Through my website, it's SueEllenParkinson.com. It's just my
Yeah,
name. Yeah.
yeah, share
I
that.
I have I think I even have my phone number. I have links on there and you can order prints and originals both. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. I'm gonna definitely share that. And thank you so much for being here today. I'm gonna share everything in the show notes so people can connect with you. And thank you so much for everything you do, your work. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. And you will send me a link of this when it's
Yeah,
done. Yeah. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Definitely.
Shireen, I hope someday we meet.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.